We start here in the United States. The U.S. has made definitive legislative moves to ban a video hosting service, TikTok. The U.S. Senate has passed a bill banning federal employees from using TikTok on government devices. The bill now needs to be approved by the current House of Representatives before going to the White House for final approval. The quote, "No TikTok on government devices" bill, introduced by a Republican senator, follows a host of state-level actions to ban the social media platform from government-owned devices. The vote is the latest action on the part of the U.S. lawmakers to crack down on Chinese companies amid national security fears that Beijing could use them to spy on Americans. The Senate action comes after North Dakota and Iowa this week joined a growing number of states in banning TikTok. And the states aren't alone. Several federal agencies, including the Defense, Homeland Security, and State Departments, have moved to ban the app from government-owned devices. The move to ban TikTok comes amid fears that the Chinese government could use TikTok to spy on Americans. TikTok has said that the concerns are largely fueled by misinformation. On Wednesday, the company said, quote, "We're disappointed that so many states are jumping on the political bandwagon to enact policies based on unfounded falsehoods about TikTok that will do nothing to advance national security of the United States." TikTok is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, and according to China's 2017 national intelligence law, Chinese companies are legally obliged to help the government in intelligence-related work. TikTok has said this has not and will not happen, saying that the concerns are largely fueled, again, by misinformation. Joining us live on the show to talk more about this is Elizabeth Braw. She's a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us on WION. The Biden administration has been negotiating with TikTok executives on measures aimed at preventing information TikTok collects on American users, and from that being shared with Beijing. But how effective would such negotiations really be?
Yeah, so the fundamental problem with TikTok and indeed any other social media is that social media arose in a time when the world was largely peaceful, and so nobody really thought of it how it may be used for nefarious purposes by hostile states, and so we're all late to the game in thinking about how should social media be regulated, both when it comes to disinformation and when it comes to the collection of data. And it's absolutely the case that social media platforms of all kinds, but especially TikTok, collect enormous amounts of data from their users. And ordinarily, that data would stay with the company and they would use it for to sell advertising. But in the case of companies based in China, that data can be requested by the government. And that's where the problem gets really serious, because given that it's this formidable amount of data, you can learn a lot about people by going through that data. And we should remember that the US government was really quite late to the game in starting to think about this. A few years ago, a dating website called Grindr, which is a dating platform that's used primarily by the gay community, was acquired by a Chinese company. And the U.S. government, the regulator, thought nothing of it. It wasn't required to get U.S. government approval. But then the regulators started thinking, well, what about the national security implications of this? A Chinese company, and by extension the Chinese government, having access to the dating profiles, and including things like HIV status and so forth, and indeed gay preferences of people who may not want anybody except the users on that website to have access to that information. So the US government then forced a reversal of that acquisition, but that shows you where we are today.
Yeah, and TikTok is also used by 2/3 of American teens. But regarding its national security implications, what is the U.S. government worried about? Because a similar bill was to be passed during the Trump administration. That didn't go through because of some legal action on the part of TikTok, but things seem pretty serious this time. Can you talk about those legal and national security implications?
Yeah, so the Trump administration tried to get TikTok banned altogether. What this bill that has been passed by the Senate does, and indeed what the actions taken by a couple of states already, what their decisions involve is that people are not allowed to use TikTok on government-issued mobile devices, and that's an action that any government can easily take because it owns the devices, and it also makes sense because it's a government-issued device, mobile phone, should be as safe as possible, as clean as possible. So that's what any government can pretty easily do, and that's what the Senate aims for with this bill that now goes to the House, and then if successful, goes to the White House.
Elizabeth Braw, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, thank you so much for joining us on WION and for that analysis.